All right, so today's props, I think that I've kind of come to, that I'm pretty sure we all have, are foam roller, and a ball. And I'll have one more thing likely on deck here. There's actually two more things. Once you get those, So the two other things that'll be on standby, I guess, are blocks, which I know you guys have, right? And a blanket or a towel. Awesome, cool, good, good. All right, that's great. All right, we're all set in there, good. So today we'll be doing some foam roller work. Maybe not, well, some stuff in the standard way, but maybe not in your standard foam roller kind of class way. I am going to be emphasizing the spine a whole lot in today's work. There will be some positions that we move through in our work today where position is really, really important because, for instance, the side body, you're right in between the floating ribs and the hip bone. And so we're going to be kind of tracking over that area. So position is really important. So as we move through these different positions and different actions, if something doesn't feel right, if you feel some pinching or if something feels a little too bone-on foam roller for your comfort, make an adjustment. If you can't think of an adjustment, feel free to just hit that space bar and ask me for some help. Yeah, so the first thing I want to do here is we're going to take our foam roller. Excuse me, Bear, it's now my time. There you go, that's it. I love that cat. It's the coolest cat I ever had. So we're just going to take the foam roller. Oh, I should also add, the work is going to be, there's going to be a little bit of a flow element to it in the sense that we're going to lay down in positions and then I'm going to offer you different ways to move. And that also is going to be kind of specific work too. We're going to lie down on the foam roller, spine length. And the way that I would do that if I were on the ground, for instance, is I would have a hand on the foam roller, feet on the ground, other hand on the ground, and pop myself right on up. And then I would use my hands to roll down. I'm going to adjust myself. And again here, we want to avoid that Pez dispensing. So you want to make sure that your occipital crest and your sacrum are both being supported by the foam roller. And then once you get settled in this position, all I want you to do is just allow your arms to rest at your sides as I'm doing here. And we're just going to take a little bit of time to take that quiet assessment with what's going on in the body today. And so now what's really important with this work, even as we find ourselves in the most passive of positions, is that we do that constant scanning of the body. And just noticing where the body's resting with ease and where the body might be resting with a little bit more resistance. And we'll bring in the physical manifestation of that real-time awareness. That's a breath. And so start the breath where it feels comfortable to you, whether it starts easiest in the chest or in the belly or in the back or in the sides. But no matter where the breath starts easiest for you, we want to start to bring the breath into all of the aforementioned places. So that is the belly and the side body and the back body and the chest. And usually where the sensation of opening is most prominent is on the in-breath, as you've heard me say before, for most folks. And again, see how much you can trust the integrity of the foam roller beneath you on the exhale. So try to really release the tissues. Take the time to notice if you're bracing. I find that I do that in my core, my hips, and my upper chest and traps. Good. Okay, so you might have to reorganize yourselves in a moment, just because we're going to bring the arms out to the sides. So yeah, sorry about that. I just realized that. That's a good adjustment, just sliding down. Perfect. Yeah. And so let's bring the arms forward once you're all settled in, like a zombie. You know, palms facing each other, right in front of you. That's perfect. And so let's just bring a little bit of energy into the arms. So we're going to straighten out the elbows as much as we can. How do you know you're doing that? You're feeling the triceps connect. You might even feel the chest. You might even feel the chest muscles connect in this position with the hands in front of you when you do this. Good. And so without bending the elbows, what I'd like to see here is shoulder circles onto the foam roller. And you want to imagine that your wrists are in rings that are stationary. And so you don't want your wrists gliding up toward your head and down toward your waist. You want them to be in one place as you do these scapular controlled articular rotations. Boom. Boom. Whatever direction you start in is very good. My feet are shoulder width apart because I'm really just focused on what's happening in my shoulders. Noticing if you're coupling into the elbows as you do these shoulder circles. And then consider changing directions if you haven't yet. And when you're doing those shoulder circles, I think the position that we tend to kind of skip out on is when your hands are traveling forward and your chest is concave and your back is rounding. Really reaching the hands forward. And this image that I have is like, if you look at the old-fashioned steam engines the wheel arms. Good. So we've presumably moved in both directions. I'm demonstrating right now, forward and back. Now let's just play a little game here and try to get one shoulder moving back and one shoulder moving forward. That's a lot to think about with straight elbows. Good. How do you do that? You bring your shoulders into a shrug up to your ears, basically. And then that way you could separate the movement. So my left shoulder is moving forward, my right shoulder is moving back. And then they end up meeting at the ears again. And so when you get confused, you just go into that shrug position again. Now, why am I doing this? I'm just trying to get your brain and your body connected. So now I'm going to make an attempt at getting my right shoulder to move forward and my left shoulder to move back. It's very difficult. Easier when it's arm circles. So allow your arms to come out to the side. Completely out to the side now. And so we want to keep straight wrists in this position. And again, our arms are in a delta wing. We're trying to go as perfectly out to the sides as possible, as our awareness allows us. And then what I'm going to have you do is reach, stretch through the fingertips as you gently ground with a G, the shoulders down your back. We're really working on keeping the elbows straight and the wrist straight and reaching through straight fingertips with maybe just the tops of the wrists on the ground. And what this should provide you, if you can really be strict about this opposing reach through the arms, is you might feel this real sensation of the fascia stretching through the belly of the forearms or the biceps or maybe even the chest. You might feel a sensation called a nerve glide because the tissues of the body, for lack of better words, are stretchy or dynamic, but the nerves of the body are not. They're like cables. So if you can really stretch your arms straight and far apart, you can really get this sensation of stretching. Now, if you're not getting that, here's what you can do. Or even if you are getting it, let's just do this. You're going to keep that same horse, that straightness in your arms, but you're going to flex your fingers back. So now it's just maybe your middle fingertip that is tented on the floor. I'll show you from. So now what's happening is the shoulders are grounded, but I am, sorry, not flexing, but extending my wrist. Just my middle fingers on the ground, and I'm pressing my palms away from each other. I'm getting a really intense stretch in my biceps and in my forearm and in the palms of my hands. So that's the belly of the arms. Breathe into the chest. Breathe into the belly. Pull the fingertips toward your body. So you're really working on extending the wrists, and that's going to go deep. Reaching the palms away from each other as you pull the fingertips toward you. Let's take 4 or 5 more breaths. This is part of what we're going to be doing today, is I want to spend a little bit of time in position to really let the tissues set. Since we've worked together, I know you're patient now. Two more deep, steady breaths. The next action is going to be called angel arms. So that beautiful length and straightness and integrity that you have in your arms, all you're going to do is just circle the arms now. So these big broad circles in any direction you wish to start with. The arms will cross in front of each other, and your task, if you choose to accept it, is try to cross your arms oppositely. So whichever arm was in front the previous time will be in back the next time. Now, if you did enjoy that stretch along the belly of the arms in this last action we did, you can extend your wrists as your arms are opened out, and that will give you that deep stretch. You can't forget to pull your fingertips toward your body and press through your palms. So again, I'll demonstrate if you need it. So we're doing these big angel arms in any direction, but once your arms travel along the ground, then you bring that extension through the wrists, reaching through the palms. And that'll just give you a little period where you're really opening up through the belly, the anterior side of the arms. Good, and change directions if you haven't. Good. And if you move slow, then you can really take that time to sit in that stretch in the bottom range, right where I'm at now. Yeah, okay, good. So we just connected to awareness. We opened up the chest and the anterior side of the arms a little bit. And so now I want to move into a different position. We're going to start to open up side body, or we're going to actually focus a little bit more on lateral flexion of the spine. So this is the position where the general position where you really want to make sure that you're in the sweet spot, especially if you bought what you thought was a soft foam roller and it's actually a hard one, right? So I'm working with a little bit of a tricky situation here. And this, dear friends, is also where your towels come in or your blankets. So maybe not in this position where we're at now, but there are a couple points where we travel along the spine where you might want to use this for some additional padding. Also for this section, we're going to want to have an inflatable ball on hand. I know you have them with me right now, but if anyone is watching the video and doesn't have an inflatable ball, a block will suffice. Okay, so one thing that's kind of revolutionary to me, or was at one point, is that, you know, lateral flexion, this idea of closing one side of the body and opening another side, was kind of a thing I didn't do much in many years, or didn't kind of think of as a really important action. But when it comes to opening up the spine, it really is. Additionally, there are different parts of the spine that can do that. And one of the big ones is the neck. So this is going to be really passive. What we want to rely on here is position and gravity to do this work. And what I find works for me is I'm getting my arm and my shoulder over the foam roller, and all I'm doing is, and it takes a little bit of time, but I'm trying to let gravity completely bring my head to a this lateral flexion or extension, depending on what side you're focusing on. Now you're going to notice when you do this that there's a real tendency to want to grip or hold on to or protect this part. But as you take deep breaths, I want you to try to direct the breath into the corresponding side that you're stretching. So what this means is you want to breathe into, I'm stretching my left side, my right side is on the roller. I'm breathing into my left neck, upper chest, and left rib cage. And the more my head can relax down with gravity toward the ground, the more opening I feel, not only in these scalenes, these muscles in the side of my neck, but I'm also getting a secondary opening in my ribs. Top hand can go on the foam roller. Now the breath is advancing this, and this is passive. And this is why I decided to call this class Revolutionary. It's a bit of a restorative approach, just using a modern prop here. So if the position starts to feel uncomfortable, come out of it and shake it off. But we're actually going to use time as a prop too here. We're not really being active or reaching or forcing the position. We're just trying to see how much we can try not to control it. I'm going to have you take about 10 more breaths there. And again, remember that you can rest or adjust if you need to. And if you're resting on your right side, the MO is to really let the left neck open. The right ear falls to the right shoulder. Five more breaths here, not even, maybe 4. Okay, so while we're in this position, you can slowly lift your head. Yeah. And then I'm going to have you take your top leg. I think for all of us here, that's your left leg. You're going to bring your left leg into a 90 degree with the inside of your left leg on the ground. Now from here, we still want to let the head rest, but we're going to open the left arm out. Keep the chin tucked and the neck long once you start to open out and your gaze goes toward the ceiling. That's on the inhale. On the exhale, the arm's going to come back down. And then as your ear starts to face the ground, your head's going to relax. So again, I'll repeat. When your top arm is forward over the roller, your head is relaxing. As you start to open out into the twist, your eyes are going to go toward the ceiling. That's when you want to tuck your chin so we're not craning our neck too much. We're getting that twist in through the spine with the help of the foam roller. And then we're going to exhale down. Rest the head. Now, since this part of the class is slower, right? Definitely take the time to notice where your range of motion feels tighter or where you might be feeling a bit more stretch. And if you're feeling more stretch in the area of the ribs or the spine, are you able to direct your breath into that space? Also notice how this roller is kind of really enhancing the twist a little bit. If you can keep that top leg, the bent leg, the inside of that knee on the ground, it's going to prevent you from twisting right now, but it's actually going to enhance the twist. It'll bring that twist in the low back more. You guys are great. Now, when you're ready, let's stack the arms so that the shoulders are also stacked. Good. And come out of that however you find easiest. You might want to go on all fours, or you might want to just roll onto your backside there. And while you're seated, just take that kind of cursory assessment however you like to, just kind of moving the body and just seeing how one side feels compared to the other. That passive work and allowing the breath to go into those spaces is excellent. Did all that make sense to you guys? Your bodies, yeah? Okay, good. We're gonna do the same thing on the other side. Sorry, Terry, I gave you the all fours exit. We weren't going into all fours. So this time I am on my left side. And again, so that foam roller is right kind of at the rotator cuff. My legs are stacked. They don't have to be perfectly straight here. If you do bend them all the way, then you miss out on some more rib opening. So I find that a little bit of length in the legs is useful. Now, whenever you're doing this, don't expect both sides to be the same. There may be a little bit more resistance on one side. My right side here is tighter. So, so there's going to be a little bit of fight, a little bit of resistance from my nervous system. And so what I think I'm going to do here when that happens is I'm going to try to reach just gently, not forcing it, energetically reach the crown of my head toward the ground a little bit. Breathe into those concavities, right? So that's breathing into the space where the neck meets the collarbone and breathing into the upper chest. There we go. So now my head is starting to release and I'm starting to get a little bit more of peripheral opening in the ribs. A few more deep breaths here. My top leg is now my right leg. So I'm going to bring that to a 90 degree. Remembering to keep the inside of that knee on the ground. My head stays relaxed. While I'm in, we'll call this the stacked position. The arms are stacked, shoulders are stacked. As I come to the open position, then I'm going to start to tuck my chin just so I'm not craning my neck. Remember, let's keep the knee on the ground just so we can bring this twist a little bit deeper into the low back as well. Maybe you can remember to direct your gaze at your hands so that the whole spine is twisting. And then exhale, we'll go to closed or stacked position. And then inhale, closed stacked position with the head relaxing. Inhale, tuck the chin, open that twist. Take a breath or two in there if you feel like it. Exhale, closed position, the head starts to relax. We're just letting the cervical spine open up laterally. And then you open that twist, chin tucks a little bit. Exhale, relax the head. closed position. A couple more times. One more. Good. Allow yourself to come up for a second. Just get in a little bit of neck circles, shoulder circles. I just love the way that that makes this part of my body feel. It just opens it up so much and feels like it really decompresses the neck. So, okay, we want to, this part's a little bit tricky because we're going to go with side body opening now. And the foam roller, we're going to try to fit in this space between our hip bone, right? Technical term, iliac crest, right? And our floating ribs. And so that's not a lot of space for most of us. So the way that we have to kind of find that sweet spot, I find, is by using the edge of the foam roller first and approaching it from the front. So let me demonstrate. The foam roller, I'm going to do it this way. The edge is here, and I'm getting that right into my obliques or my love handle because the ribs are a little bit higher there. And then I'm going to roll gingerly, and I'm going to try to keep my right side open, trying to keep my right side open by reaching my right foot away from me. This will make your right side longer. Also note that my right elbow is on the ground. So if you can get to your side, then you know you've kind of found that spot. Is it comfortable? No, it's not comfortable. You know, we're trying to open the psoas. Now, can you give me a thumbs up if you were able to kind of, if you know what I'm talking about at least? Yeah? Okay, awesome. No, Helene? Okay, so do you wanna space bar me? That's the better. Hi there.
Could you explain it again?
Yes.
How to find the spot?
How to find the spot. So, okay, let's palpate, all right?
Okay, wait a minute, I gotta mute.
Yep.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, so I'll just get talking for a minute. I have the highlight on my screen, so it's all good. If you palpate, you can feel on the side of your body where your ribs are. And right along the side of your body, you can kind of feel where the ribs that aren't attached are. Okay, we want to not put the foam roller there. We also don't want to put it on the bone of the hip. There's literally like an inch of free space on the side of our body that we're trying to get the foam roller into. It's a tall order. So let me re-explain how to do it. I'm gonna try a different angle here. So I'm using like the first 4 inches of foam roller, and I'm just kind of placing it on my obliques on the front of my body, because that's all soft tissue. So let's start with that maybe, okay? Just get the foam roller into that place. Abdominal massage is never comfortable. And so how do you control this position with the foam roller? With your arms and your legs, right? So you got your elbows in the ground there, you've got your legs on the ground. And we're still just on the abdominals. I just want to use time. If you can, from this front position, rest your head on your arms and just let your breath massage the foam roller for a couple of breaths. There's a lot of tension buildup in the abdominals, and we're just trying to get in there first. The foam roller is in my right side here. Sorry, I'm right up against the mic. Now I'm going to start to rest my weight on my right elbow if I'm massaging my right side. I'm now going to bring my attention to my right foot. I'm going to reach my foot away from the foam roller so that I open the right side of my body more. And I'm going to slowly try to stack my shoulders so that that foam roller is right in between my hips and my ribs. It's wedged right into that soft tissue. My left side is closed and my right side is open. Once you find that spot where you don't have roller crushing into bone, right? Try to relax that tissue on the side of your body. Try to relax your abdominals and just work on reaching that right heel away from the foam roller. Now, there's a little flow aspect to this, and what I'm finding is my right or my left knee bent at a 90 degree is giving me a lot of grounding here. So my right leg is straight, that's my bottom leg, my top leg's in a 90. Okay, roll back so that you're facing the ground again. And come off of that. Oh. We're going to do the same thing on the same side. Just make sure that you have your ball on hand because we're going to release down into that a little bit more. So same approach. We have another opportunity to come at this. The roller's going into my right obliques. We should be a little more open there. So while the roller's in your right obliques and you're facing the ground, reach your right heel away from the roller. That'll open your belly a little bit more. Roll through to your right side so that you can get that foam roller right in the sweet spot where you had it before. And then we can go a little bit further. You can take the ball and you can rest it between your bottom arm and your ear. I got to take my earpiece out. So my right arm is along the ground. The ball is going to go between my ear and the shoulder, and I'm just going to let myself rest over the roller. Now here's what's important. Your bottom leg has to have some real length in it. You got to horse your bottom leg. Good. You really got to be in the perfect spot here. As I mentioned at the beginning of the class, this is one of those positions. And then if you can relax your head into the ball, into your shoulder, then you could take your top arm overhead and reach it toward the ground. so that your head is between your arms and you've got this real side body opening here on both sides. Once you're in position, then you can really try to breathe and relax into this position. I'm gonna come on over to you. If that works. If not, head on the ground on the ball, or head on the ball on the ground works too. A couple more breaths into the open ribs. So that's our left side body. Can you reach your left hand and your right heel away from each other? You'll bring your top arm down to your side slowly. Good. You'll lift the head and roll your shoulders so that you're facing the ground, and we'll come out of it. If you want to, you can do a sitting assessment, or you can do a standing assessment. Whatever feels best. So this is somewhat aggressive foam roller work, subtle yet aggressive foam roller work. And I just want to kind of explain what we're doing here is, you know, we see a lot of front bending, we see a lot of back bending if we're doing a yoga class. But this lateral bend in the spine and taking the head with it is really important, because that's what decompresses the spine. So literally what we're trying to do with that foam roller is we're trying to create more distance between the heads of the ribs and the heads of the hips. We're trying to decompress the lumbar spine, open up the psoas. So were you able to find that a little bit? Yeah? Semi, yeah. You really, that's where the position really matters. And so setup is really important, and you may have more success. Yeah, you may have more success on the left side, you know. Here's something else I should mention for you two, and for whomever is taking this class in the future, is maybe try, if you can't get all the way to your side on the foam roller, maybe just see how far you can go where you feel like the foam roller is only in the tissue, and hang out there. Take some breaths and then try rolling a little bit more. For now, what we're going to do is the same pattern we did last time. So I would like to get that foam roller this black shirt. Of course, I chose to wear only black shirts. Way to go, Steve Jobs, right? So, okay, foam roller is, if I were a superhero, it's where my front abdominals, that's rectus abdominis, meets the love handles. It's that vertical line. We're trying to get the edge of the foam roller into that space. And then make sure you have your ball on hand so we don't have to break pattern. Then you're going to just ease yourself onto that foam roller, doing your best to avoid the ribs. Now, how do we do that? By opening that side. So I think for us in this video, it's all of our left side. Notice I'm resting on my elbows and I'm using my feet and legs to support me at first. And then after a couple of breaths, I'm going to start to ease myself down. And here's where I'm beginning that process of really trying to separate the ribs from the hips. I'm just taking a couple of breaths here. And then I'm going to bring that load back into my arms and my legs a little bit as I try to roll a little bit onto my left side. And I'm just trying to find that perfect spot. where the foam roller isn't primarily contacting ribs. It's in that little chasm of muscle tissue where there isn't bone between the ribs and the hips. So look, I might find that I can only halfway stack the shoulders before I start getting into the ribs. That's okay. You can still reach your bottom leg. In our case, right now, it's the left leg. And breathe into that. Now, if your shoulders are a little bit tight or you can't find the right position, you can just rest your head on the ball, on the ground. Or you can work to lengthen your bottom arm, wedge the ball between your head and your bottom arm, reach your bottom heel away from your bottom arm to try to open your left side, in our case. Try to relax your head, open the ribs, and then if you feel comfortable, reach the right arm overhead too. Really trying to spread the top ribs, the right ribs. And breathe into that. Let yourself settle into that. The abdominals and the psoas need release too. Oh, good. Great. A couple more deep breaths. Fill up the top ribs, the right ribs, reaching the bottom leg and the top arm oppositionally. Decompressing the lumbar spine by creating separation between the pelvis and the rib cage, and relaxing the abdominals. And then when you're ready, yep, bring that arm down. You can face the ground, so we're coming out of that mild twist, and then press yourself out of it. Good. Okay, so awesome thus far. I would like to now go side body still. This is where I have to play around with it a bit. Yes, okay. So I'm on my right side. I am actually resting just above my right hip. Yeah. So I'm just kind of, here, let me show you. This is a little bit weird from over here. I'm just above my right hip. So before we were here, now we're right here. This is much more comfortable, he says. We're on soft tissue here. So I'm just trying to open the left hip, okay? So I've got my bottom leg in a 90 degree. I'm resting my head on my bottom arm, and my hips are stacked. Again, straightening my top leg, and I'm just going to let it fall toward the ground. And what you might notice, if you can relax it enough, is you might feel those hip flexors start to open up. My top arm typically is holding on to the foam roller. Reaching the top heel away actively will yield more stretch. Here's the area that I'm really opening. Right here at the obliques and iliac crest juncture where the hip bone and obliques meet. And also I'm getting some in hip flexors and piriformis. Big reach. So it's partially reaching that top leg away, and it's partially letting the leg fall toward the ground. If you're not feeling anything, rotate your pelvis in any direction and just see if you can find something there. There's a little bit of kind of playing around you have to do to find your optimal position. Good. Now we're going to take that top leg and reach it behind you a little bit, basically taking the same approach. So now I've got my leg behind my body. The leg is still straight and reaching away from me, and my bottom leg is bent. My head is resting on my bottom arm. Breathe. Breathe into the left ribs. Now reach the top hand, that's our left hand, away from your left foot. I'm getting a stretch right in my low side body and low back. Breathe into those spaces. If you can get your top arm aligned with your ear, that's best. A couple more deep breaths here in this position. Lower your arm to your side. You can rotate yourself to face the ground and press yourself off the ground here. Switch sides. So all I've tried to do, that's a nice one, isn't it? It's kind of tricky to get into, but it's a good one. So just to explain what I've done so far, we spent a lot of time on side body work, but all I've done is focus a lot on opening up the scalenes, right? So that's lateral extension / flexion in cervical spine. Then we did that in thoracic spine. Now we're doing it in lumbar. So we're just carrying that side bend into different places of the spine. It's what I call nooks and crannies work, right, guys? So that worked for both of you. Terry, how you doing, man? Yeah? Helene, I know you're good. You came right up like, whew. All right, so other side now. Okay, this is the devilish side for me. So now I've got, let's set it up. Starting from the very, very top, I'm just putting the foam roller under my arm, right? And I'm kind of in this side lounging position. Now I'm gonna get onto the foam roller, sort of. My bottom leg now, this is my left leg, is in a 90 degree. My top leg, that's gonna be my right leg, is extended. Here I'm gonna roll up so that I'm kind of on my hip a little bit now. And then I'm going to extend my arm, lean down, and just let gravity do some of the work at first. Good. So I'm right up at the top of my hip here on my bottom side. My bottom leg's in a 90 degree. My top leg is straight. Right now, my hips and my shoulders are stacked. And I'm just holding onto the foam roller with my top arm. Now, the more energy that I introduce into this top leg, the more I start to feel that stretch in the hip. I don't have my leg behind me yet. We're just going into this gently. And just also, even though we have energy in the body, we're letting gravity open that top side hip. Let's now bring that top arm overhead. So I've got oppositional reach between top arm and top leg. My fingertips are reaching away from my top leg heel. I'm going to adjust, as you have every right to as well. I'm going to get a little more onto my hip for this one. That's the thing with foam roller work. You know, you may have to find yourself adjusting midway through. Things change, state changes as you advance through the position. Also, this side's my tighter side. Okay, good. Now, let's advance it a little bit more. Bring the leg behind your body. Here's where the energy in the leg is really important. You can start to even open that top hip. Open that top hip a little bit. So before I was totally stacked. Now I'm opening a little bit, just a few degrees toward the ceiling. Breathe into the belly, breathe into the side, bring in that oppositional reach, top hand to top foot. They're moving away from each other while gravity is pulling you over the foam roller, while your breath is expanding the tissues of your hip over the scaffolding of your skeletal system. Do that for several breaths. And when you're ready, dear friends, the arm can come down to your side. You can roll over to face the ground. And then press yourself up to your seated position. And then when you're ready, get up and move around for a second. Enjoy that mobility. Come on, let's stand up for a second. Oh, I mean, that just feels awesome. I feel like I could do a salsa class right now, you know? Ah. So this spot for me here is just the tight spot. It's my right side psoas. It's just where my tension profile is in my right side neck. And so that is exactly what the doctor ordered for someone with my tension profile. All right, so we've got to do the all-important spinal extension. And so we're going to take a very similar tact, but now we're going to do this on our backs. Yeah, I did not mean to rhyme. That was a accidental rhyme. We're going to take the similar tact on our backs. Okay, so here is, we're going to start at the upper spine. Foam roller restorative. I've lost my earpiece many a time here. So let's just start with the foam roller right at the base of the skull and the top of the shoulders. Just lying on our backs here. Good. I'm going to have you very gently, without creating tension in the neck, just tuck the chin a little bit so that you're opening the back of the neck up. You'll place your hands on the top of your head so as to create a little pressure down onto the foam roller. And I'm just going to have you roll behind your earlobe and then go to the other side, other earlobe. Good. All right, and when you're doing that, maybe if you could see me in the screen, I'm not sure. If you can start to kind of rock your body with that movement. And then you're going to rock over to your left side until your left shoulder goes into the foam roller, just as mine is. See, my left shoulder is into the foam roller. Now, what I want to try to do here, I'm going to show you so you can see. We're going to try to hit a really hard spot to hit. We're going to try to hit the trapezius. All right, it's that muscle that's right on the top of the shoulder here. And so when I'm laying down, my shoulder is wedged into the foam roller so that it's contacting the trapezius. Here, I'll show you what it looks like lying down. My left shoulder is in the foam roller. Now, I'm going to press my feet into the ground a little bit. Now, I'm not putting the foam roller into my neck. Remember, it's just going into that top of that muscle. So I'm driving the trapezius into the foam roller, and I'm smushing it. So I may not even be bringing any movement in. I'm just smushing the trapezius. I don't even have to lift my hips. I'm just driving into it. And we're going to hang out there for a second. So I'm using my top leg to drive that foam roller right into my left trap. My right leg is kind of pushing, the shoulder into the roller. Foam roller may want to get away from you a little bit. Can you tuck your chin and lengthen your neck? And now that we're in the trapezius muscle, your top arm, that's my right arm, is going to go over my head, and it's going to hold on to above my left ear. That's my bottom ear. Gently try to open the left neck. We're just getting into those scalenes a little bit. So I've now brought my top ear to my top shoulder. Don't force it. We just have the foam roller holding that tissue in place as we're creating length. Take a couple breaths into that space. And then release it. Ooh-wee. We'll go to the other side here. So that's the right side. So the foam roller is on my neck for now until I roll to my right side, until the top of my right shoulder is into the foam roller. Once the top of my right shoulder is into the foam roller, I'm using my left leg to kind of push into it a little bit. Good. Now, as I previously mentioned, my right side is my tight side. So it's just taking me a little bit more work to find that sweet spot because I'm a little bit more compressed on that side. Here I'm in that trapezius. Since I have that muscle pinned more or less with the foam roller, I'm going to use my top arm. I'm going to bring it overhead above my right ear. and lift my head so that I get a little bit more stretch on the side of my neck. Good. Breathing into that is always a swell idea. A few times. Okay, now let's progress. We're going to roll until the foam roller is just beneath the arms. So you two are, I don't think, are taller than me, or you're the same height as me. The top of my head is not touching the ground here. It's just off the ground. If I were to completely relax my head down, I would like you to do the same. This is kind of a level of extension that we don't often do. So definitely be gentle here. Again, my arms are above the foam roller still. They're above the foam roller, yeah. And then I'm letting gravity take my head toward the ground. If that feels pinchy to you, you could try moving down the back a little bit more. And then if your head does touch the ground, that's okay. You just don't want too much pinchiness. Again, this is gravity doing just a lot of this work right now. While we're here now, your right arm is going to stay on the foam roller, and then you're going to reach your left arm overhead, so next to your left ear, and then you're going to open that left side. So once your arm gets next to your ear, the arm's not moving at the shoulder joint anymore. The arm will only move because the spine is moving. Still letting your head kind of rest with gravity a little bit. And then I'm straightening my spine. And then I'm reaching that left arm overhead and opening the left ribs. Here goes that. This is that side bend that we've been seeing so much in this class. And then back to center. And then reach that left side open and right side close. And we're just doing this action with the breath. Exhale, opening that left side again. Head stays relaxed. And back. One more time. Good. Right side. So the right arm is coming up next to the right ear. And so from my view, it looks like my arms are coming closer together. They are. My right side is opening, my left side is closing. And then I'm straightening out my spine again. And then I'm opening my right side, which makes it look like my right arm is moving, but it's just my spine that's moving and taking the arm with it. Check your position and see if you can relax your head toward the ground a little bit more as you do this. We're really trying to get into those paraspinal muscles that they get fibrous just because we don't articulate the spine as it could. I don't know about you, but I am really feeling these right ribs open here. Good. One more. Maybe when you open those right ribs, you can breathe as much air into that space as possible. And then come to center with the arms over the foam roller as we had at the beginning of the sequence. Now, can you lengthen through the top of your head along the ground as you press your elbows into the foam roller gently. And we're just lengthening the neck a little bit in extension. Don't force it. Good. Okay, we're gonna go down about 6 inches. Again, nowhere where there's pinching. Middle back. Now, you know what? I'm going to use the ball behind the back of my head. So I'm not overloading here. I'm not in the low back. I'm in the thoracic spine right now. My legs are straight and my head is on the ball. Additionally, here's where we have our blocks on standby. If the ball is still too low for your head, you could place the back of your head on a block at any height that's comfortable to you. Of course, everything I have is black. So this block is at its highest. Now I'm at the intermediate height on the block. And then this here is the lowest height on the block. The foam roller, another way of saying this, is at the lower border of my shoulder blades. We're breathing into the ribs. A little core connection here is permitted, just to give that spine a little bit of support in this back bend. Good. Gravity and breath is doing the work. The core is supporting a tiny bit here since we're doing a back bend, a passive back bend. And then we're going to go into the low back. Now, so we would gently, slowly bend the knees and flatten the feet. The arms, we're going to flow into this still. The arms will stay on the ground to support us as we roll a little further. And we're finding that place in our back bend. Definitely, I'm using a block. I'm using it right now at the lowest height, and that seems to be pretty good place. So I am into the low back here. I'm in a position where I'm not pinching. We're feeling pinching, but I am feeling a challenge. I'm feeling some extension. This is a position that strong horse, you know, this super horse or this deeper extension is something I don't find myself doing as much as I'd like to. Most folks. Now, as I'm finding ease here, I'm really starting to find that I'm decompressing the sacrum. Maybe I could just windshield wiper the knees left to right. Very gently. So like a restorative class, we're taking that same approach. We're trying to let the breath do the work here. We're trying not to force position. But find a position that comes easy, but still gives us some good feedback. One more, two more deep breaths here. Roll to your favorite side and press yourself up. I have one more thing for us. Now you can do this strapped. I don't have a strap cued for us, but I actually didn't plan it strapped either. So I'm gonna have you bring the foam roller under the legs, knees bent, feet flat. You're gonna lie onto your back here. Once you're on your back, you're gonna press your hips up, your pelvis up, until the foam roller is on your sacrum. Hands will hold on to the sides of your foam roller, and then we'll lift our legs up into a Viparita Karani. So the legs can be together or hip width, and you want to find that perfect balance point where you're using as little muscle tissue as possible to keep the legs up. They're just perfectly stacked into your hip sockets. And just allow the low back to decompress passively. If you want to do something, you can do little circles with the feet. Or a little internal, external rotation, but nothing end range, just passive work. You could tabletop your legs and bring your heels along the ground and straighten out your legs. And try to relax into this hip opener with your hands at your sides. Again, making sure that the foam roller is on the sacrum. Taking that restorative, unloaded approach. How much can you relax the legs and the tissues of the chest, the abdominals, musculature of the face, the tops of the feet? Yeah. Breathe into the waist all the way around, into the belly and in the sides and in the back. Slowly, I'll have you bend the knees and flatten the feet. press your pelvis up off the foam roller. Yep, slide the foam roller away and lower yourself down, windshield wiper the knees left to right.